And welcome back to the Monday show on Vapor Trails TV. Another week, another new week. There we are, or something like that. Another day, another new week, something like that. We got lots coming up tonight, haven't we? What have we got, Marco?
Oh, Matt, we've got loads. Yeah, we've got looking at. I'll get rid of that. Looking at some DIY mixing. Dave's got the piece from NZ. In fact, I've got a little bit of VT for you. Why don't you show it?
You know what, I would, but I forgot to put the trader in. Because you didn't put that on the running order.
It's on the running order.
Is
maybe
it?
it's not.
No, it's not.
Well, we might show you what's coming up once we've done it.
Oh, we just wing it. So what we got? We got a news roundup. We've got Marco doing some mixing. We've got another report from Dave Dawn on New Zealand. I review some Decadent Vapors juices, and with some input from Sav as well.
Yeah.
And we have a bit of a chat with Joe Gitchell and Graham Gords as well. And finally, we'll have a little bit of a recap of what's been going on in Wales from our very own Ridian. So we've got a fair bit coming up. What should we do now then?
Well, I think we should follow the running order and maybe go with a little news section.
Okay, here's the news.
Alcohol in e-cigarettes can affect vapors, says a study. And this was on the CNBC website over in the States. And apparently a new Yale University study finds that people who used a commercially available electronic cigarette liquid with a relatively high alcohol level had their motor skills significantly impaired, even though they didn't feel like they were buzzed from the vaporized booze. E-cigs have been increasingly popular in recent years, and as users seek alternative to traditional tobacco products which cause cancer, the battery-operated e-cigs vaporize a liquid which contains nicotine and often flavourings. And what they found here, if we go down, is that one of the e-cig juices from this particular company, and it's this one here, French vanilla, organic French vanilla made by Virgin Vapor of California, had a 23.5% alcohol content. Now I do wonder whether they're using that as a solvent to dissolve the flavouring, but compared with one of their other liquids that only had a 0.4% alcohol content. Yeah. The question is, of course, is do we need alcohol in our e-liquid at all? Now, in the past, I have shown how to mix DIY juices, and you can use a flavourless alcohol like vodka to water down your VG. But the amounts are really, really tiny. And I did kind of muse at the point whether or not you would inhale enough of that alcohol to then cause a problem if you were breathalyzed. But the amount is seriously negligible. But 23.5% is a serious amount of alcohol in a juice. And the question is, do we need it? Yeah. Let's go to the next story. E-cigarettes don't help smokers quit. Well, I think there's quite a few of us watching this and upon the team here that can probably safely say that e-cigarettes have helped us quit lit tobacco. It's nearly 4 years for me. In fact, it's 4 years next month. So who they spoke to, I don't know. Anyway, we won't go through the whole text of this particular story. The links will be available in our show details at the end of the show. Moving on, we've got another one here. And this is consumeraffairs.com. Using e-cigarettes could make you less likely to stop smoking. Again, this goes back to the other story as well. And it said when electronic cigarettes or e-cigarettes first arrived on the scene, they were touted as a way to help smokers kick the habit. A new study suggests, however, that's not how they're being used. Well, some of us do use them to stop smoking and stop using nicotine altogether, but a lot of us, we keep using them because we like the effect that they give us, and we like using nicotine, which has been proved on many occasions is about as harmful as strong coffee. They do say that they shouldn't be recommended. E-cigarettes should not be recommended as effective smoking cessation aids until there is evidence that, as promoted and used, they assist smoking cessation. And this is Scottish legal news. This was today. The Scottish Government to review second-hand effects of vaping. Now this goes to the smoking ban in cars where children are present, and there was a lobby to include e-cigarettes in that. That has been pushed aside for the moment. As yet, the evidence does not suggest that there are significant harm from second-hand vapour in enclosed public spaces. Therefore, the Scottish Government has no current plans to legislate in the use of e-cigarettes in enclosed spaces, including cars. We will continue to monitor emerging evidence. We'll keep an eye on that, and we will let you know. That's the news for this week. It's back to the studio.
And there's a news roundup now. No doubt some of you have seen those stories floating around on the Twitter sphere and Facebook recently. I think the particularly hot topic at the moment is the study that e-cigarettes don't help you quit smoking, which they were never designed to do anyway, but regardless. Should we expand on that a little bit, Marco?
Yeah, proper garbage, in my opinion. There you go. Yes. There is one school of thought that says that they were developed in the first place because for like a cessation aid. But how many people do you know who vape who are doing it solely to quit using nicotine? And I think that's the differentiation here, is that we've used it to stop using lit tobacco, but we're still rather much enjoying our nicotine. It sounds almost like it's just standing on the coattails of Big Pharma and Big Tobacco to poo-poo vaping.
Yeah. Now, I myself have never once encountered a single vapor that started vaping in order to quit smoking. Not one.
No.
I didn't, and my story is well documented. Marco's is well documented. Everyone else in the team's is well documented story. None of us started vaping because, oh yeah, that's the way to quit fags. Nope, never was. And was it? I've been sort of dipping in and out of the story because I've been fairly busy. But was it Carl Phillips that turned around and said the report was a complete hatchet job?
There's been various rebuttals floating around on Twitter and
on Tinterweb. But yes, I think most of the major players have all come back and said this is total bosh.
Yeah, I read somewhere as well that what they did is they got smokers, but only smokers that had previously used e-cigs, and that's how they got the sample number.
That'd be a good way of kind of bumping up the figures, wouldn't it?
Yeah, it'd be much like Sony asking people who bought a Bravia TV but have only ever previously had a Samsung, and then we'll turn around and say, all Samsung owners switch to Sony. Or
yes,
yeah, I might be generalising things a little bit there, but that's kind of how I interpret it, you know.
Yeah, maybe others glancing it, I don't know.
Yeah. And the other news I've seen floating around recently as well, I know you didn't cover it up in there, was the news on the iStick that apparently exploded in someone's hand. Did you read about that?
I've seen something about that. I've also seen the story that was around last year about the guy who apparently melted his lung.
That's kind of resurfaced. But as that was total tosh, I didn't bother to cover it, really.
No, and the thing that gets me is as soon as an e-cig apparently blows up, there's calls for it to be banned. Now, have you seen these? I mean, the other things with batteries seem to go bang. You know, phones we know go bang, laptops have gone bang, and hoverboards as well. But they don't seem to be making quite the impact, do they?
Well, it was rather pleasing at Christmas time to see all those hoverboards exploding, because it took the attention away from e-cigs for a little while. But yes, you know, anything that has a rechargeable battery that is charged incorrectly using the wrong charger or a crap charger, to use a lesser word, it is going to cause you problems. In fact, I sent Matt something in the post last week. I sent him a little
card that we use to bring our
did.
videos and stuff in.
If that's what
And I was
Marco's
asked
coming on
a
now. Yeah.
barrage of questions at the post office. And before she'd finished asking me the questions, I said, no, there's no lithium-ion batteries in it. That was it. I wasn't going to tell her what was it. I don't want to tell the post office what I'm sending. As long as it's not dangerous. I'm paying, I think it was about 12 quid, wasn't it, Matt? But anyway, yes, they're asking you now every single time. And there was a lady selling things, obviously she'd been selling on an auction site, and every package she was asked the same question.
Actually, to follow up on that story, and you'll see a bit more about this on Thursday, hopefully, if Dave gets the chance to show the DNA 200 piece. Bit of a sneak preview. I had a DNA 200 device fail on my birthday last November, as it happens. I was a bit peeved about that. But anyway, so I got in touch with the vendor, and they said, yes, send it back, we'll replace it for you. Okay, fine. So I went down, I packed it up quite nicely, took it down to the post office, and they asked the question, what's in it? And I said, electronics. Of course, the name of the vendor was written on there, and it was the name of the vendor, E-Cigarette Limited. So the lady behind the counter instantly says, that's an electronic cigarette, that's got a battery in it. It did, but that's not the point. So I pulled out an e-cigarette in my pocket and said, yeah, but you can take them out. Oh, all right then. But there we go.
Yeah, I mean the weird thing is that you can send a battery in a device, but they're not allowing you to send a battery on its own. So if I sent somebody to 18650s in a protective case,
that's not allowed.
This sort of case.
You can send it in a device where it could fail.
Yeah, it could short out or whatever.
The battery's less likely to fail if it's not connected to anything.
Yeah.
But if it's connected to something that's dodgy and that then causes a short, that's when you get the problems. I don't think they really understand the technology. But there you go. But maybe we can look into that on a further show.
Yes, maybe we could. So it's not bleating about that. So I think we've got a mixing video coming up next, haven't we?
Yes.
Yes. So when I find the number on the keyboard. So let's have some VT of Marco doing some mixing.
I get asked a few questions on quite a regular basis. The first one being, what is the TPD? You'd be surprised how many vendors ask that question as well. Number 2, what happens after May 2016? Will I still be able to get my juice and associated items? And number 3, can you explain DIY mixing? And I've been asked that question, the last question, twice in the last week. So, last year we looked at DIY mixing on Vaping. So we're going to look back at a re-edited version of that video, which shows you how to mix and what you need to mix. And it's really that simple. Have a look and we'll see you after.
What I thought I'd do this week is just go over the basics of mixing your own DIY juices. We do have a lot of new people that have come on board, and I think it's probably a good idea if we look at just the basics of how to mix your own liquids and what you need really as a basic kit, if you like. So the first thing you're going to need is some nicotine, and I have some here. Now this didn't come in this bottle, this used to have PG in it, but it's a child safety cap on the top. So I've decanted my nicotine liquid, which is 75 milligram. You can see that I've labelled it up 75 milligram, and it's VG based. I've also got another bottle of this, a smaller bottle, which is exactly the same. This used to have nicotine in it as well. So I've got 2 bottles of that. I like the brown bottles because it keeps the sun out.
Out of that shot.
Sorry, I've gone and done it.
I get asked a few questions on quite a regular basis. The first one being, what is the TPD? You'd be surprised how many vendors ask that question as well. Number 2, what happens after May 2016? Will I still be able to get my juice and associated items? And number 3, can you explain DIY mixing? And I've been asked that question, the last question, twice in the last week. So, last year we looked at DIY mixing on Vaping. So we're going to look back a re-edited version of that video, which shows you how to mix and what you need to mix. And it's really that simple. Have a look and we'll see you after.
What I thought I'd do this week is just go over the basics of mixing your own DIY juices. We do have a lot of new people that have come on board, and I think it's probably a good idea if we look at just the basics of how to mix your own liquids and what you need really as a basic kit, if you like. So the first thing you're going to need is some nicotine, and I have some here. Now this didn't come in this bottle, this used to have PG in it, but it's a child safety cap on the top. So I've decanted my nicotine liquid, which is 75 milligram. You can see that I've labelled it up 75 milligram, and it's VG based. I've also got another bottle of this, a smaller bottle, which is exactly the same. This used to have nicotine in it as well. So I've got two bottles of that. I like the brown bottles because it keeps the sun out. Now to mix those down, you're going to need some VG. Now this bottle is where I got the VG from. I got it from Boots, and it works out about £1.39 for a 200ml bottle like this. And then I just slacken it down a little bit with some, when I get it, with some distilled water. This works out about £5 for 500ml, but you don't need much. You can of course use vodka if you wish. I wouldn't really advise you to use tap water, although you can use deionized water, but I found to my cost that one deionized water I bought was pretty gunky inside, so I don't use that one anymore. Now you can also use PG, and this PG has been mixed up with a 10% solution of ethyl maltol to give it a really sweet candy floss type taste. You can always use just plain PG, which is a lot thinner. You can see the viscosity of this is a lot thinner compared to the VG. Now the difference between the two, let me just explain here. VG will give you more vapor. PG will give you more of a throat hit. Now some people have an intolerance to PG, some people might have an intolerance to VG. I started off mixing mine 100% VG. I now go about 80 VG, 20 PG. And the recipe I'm going to show you that I'm going to do today is actually 75% VG, 25% PG. But I mix the ethyl maltol with all my PG. I don't use neat PG. The ethyl maltol you can buy from various places. Liberty Flights do it in these little 10ml bottles for about £2 something. And I use one of these bottles, a 10ml bottle of this, to 200 millilitres of PG. And I take about half a bottle, mix in the ethyl maltol crystals, and then either warm it in the microwave for 20 seconds just to warm it through, or you can put it in some hot water and then just shake it around, and you'll see that in the PG those crystals completely dissolve. Do not do it with VG, because what you'll end up with is the crystals recrystallizing, because they don't like VG. You must dilute or dissolve crystals like ethyl maltol or crystals like menthol with PG, because it will then dissolve. So those are the basic things you need. You're going to need some flavouring, and I have here some high voltage flavouring. This is from Tea Juice. This is a maraschino, cherry and menthol concentrate, and you can buy lots of different concentrates. Please be careful that you add the right amount, and unless you know exactly how much you need, I would start at say 10% and then add a bit more and a bit more, until you get the strength you like, making sure that you've left it a couple of days in between adding, because you can add too much and make your juice completely rank. Yeah, so we're going to use some of that. Measuring wise, you can buy things like this. These are measuring cups. You can buy those, and they have the graduated lines on which tell you how much is in each one. This one goes up to 30 mils, this one goes to 100 mils, this one goes to 15 mils. So you can use these to measure with, or you can use them to mix it up and then put it into your bottle. And I do a bit of both, really. So those are measuring cups. Syringes, that's a 10 mil syringe. I also have a 2.5 mil syringe and some 1 mil syringes, and I've got copious amounts of all of these, all with blunt needle tips, and that's very important. You need to use blunt needle tips, and they come in different sizes as well. That's a pink one, slightly bigger than the green, but these are handy for getting your flavours out. And if you're making a multiple flavour juice, then I would use different syringes for each flavour, and then wash them all afterwards. And always make sure that everything you've used is always washed and cleaned and dried afterwards, and then the next time you come to use it, it's ready to go. You're going to need something to put it in, obviously, and you can buy these bottles from various sources. This is quite a flexible one, which is quite good. Some of the bottles you buy, which are the clear ones, are made from harder plastic. I prefer these ones, the PET bottles, because they're soft, squidgy, and you can squeeze your juice. And then you can either use the bottle top, which fits in, and then the childproof cap, which goes on top. Always in making sure, of course, you label what the juice is you've got in there. Alternatively, you can use one of these, which is a needle cap. And you've got a little section there. Let me just open it up. I'll show you. You get a little section to go on your bottle, and then you get your needle top. And basically, it's a case of putting that bit over your bottle, screwing in your needle top, and then you've got your stopper built in. So that's quite good for squeezing into dripping, if you like that. Or you can use these bottles, and this originally had snake oil in, which came with a childproof cap originally, but also it came with a dripping cap, so you can use those. I found these quite useful for filling tanks as opposed to using the needle tips, because you can suck up a whole load and put it in. So that is what we're going to make our juice in today. This is a 30 ml bottle. And the brown glass obviously helps if you're going to keep this out in the light, because less light gets through the brown glass than it does get through the plastic. So we're going to make 30 mils of juice. And let me just zoom in a little bit, because we're a little bit farther away. There we go. I'll show you a slide, and you'll see the recipe I'm going to use. Now, my nicotine is 75 milligrams strength, and I'm going to mix this down to 18 actually. Originally I was going to put 24, but I'm going to make this an 18, and then I can use it on the sub-tank RBA and it won't be as bad. 24 on the RBA is a bit harsh. So we're going to make it to 18 milligrams. So you can see from the slide, we're going to use 7.2 millilitres of the nicotine, and then we're going to add to that 14.4 mils of VG, and then also to that we're going to add 3.9 mils of PG with the ethyl maltol solution, and this works out about a 79% VG, 21% PG. That's the ratio of VG to PG. And then we're going to use 4.5 mils of the high voltage concentrate, and that will give us a percentage of 15% flavouring. which is fine for this one. 15% is rather good on this. So let's make a start. And we'll start with the nicotine. But what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put down a sheet of absorbent paper, because that makes it a little bit better when it comes to drips. Yes. Right, so the recipe calls for 7.2 mils of the nicotine. So we're going to get those out now. I'll get that out now. The best thing is just to use the syringe without needle tip, because it's too viscous to come through the needle tip. And we want 7.2. Well, that's about 7.2. Yes, it's about 7.2. And that is going to go into our bottle. There we go. And then it's a good idea just to wipe your syringe afterwards, so there's not going to contaminate the other liquids. We'll get the VG, and the VG we need 14.4. So we'll just draw that out. We'll do 10 mils. That's a full 10. And then 4.4. I'll just put the top back on there. Oh, I've cross-threaded the top, that's no good. There we go. Right. That's your 14.4 of VG. Now we need 3.9 of the PG ethyl maltol. And that's about right. 3.9. There we go. And now what we need is 4.5 of the flavouring. Now, I'll get my 2.5 ml syringe, and we'll just take off the needle tip, and we'll put it on the 10 ml, because we're going way over the 2.5 ml. And what I find is a good idea is just to put the needle tip through the end of the bottle, if you can get it in. Some of them you can, some of them you can't. This one's a bit temperamental, so we're going to take the top off this. I'll just use the cloth to get that off. And remember to put that back when you're finished. So now we're just going to draw up the 4.5, and it's always better to be precise with your flavourings. You can be a little bit less precise with the rest of them. You're going to vary the nicotine level very, very slightly, but the flavourings, you need to be as precise as you can, really. So that is 4.5 mils of the concentrate, and either take the needle tip off before you squirt it in, because if there's a lot of pressure, that might shoot off. Has done to me in the early days, or you can just hold on to it just in case, and just squirt that in. There we go. And then I always find, just put the needle tip in and just pull some of the liquid through. It's a bit viscous, so it'll take a little bit of time, just a little bit, just to get the rest of that liquid out, really. Make sure you're not wasting any. And there you go. We'll just do a little shake. And there you have it. It is mixed. And it smells very nice. I really like this particular flavour. And I like mixing it myself. So there we have 30 mils of juice, and I'm just going to label that up, and I have some labels. these actually go into my printer, which is quite handy. And I'll print a label off for this using some software I got from Avery Dennison. Free software you can find. It's called, let's see what it's called. It's called Design Pro 5. And you can design your own labels, and it will print on the most common size labels that you can get from eBay and places, or Ryman's or whatever. And you can put it in and design your own label and keep a copy of it as well. So when you make more, you can just print off a new sheet of labels. So there you go. That was a quick and dirty really on DIY mixing.
So there you go. It is that easy. All you need is a few little bits of equipment, some PG, VG, nicotine and flavourings. And there's plenty of places where you can buy all 4 of those currently. Don't forget, after the TPD comes into force, if you want to be able to mix a juice that is more than 20 milligrams in strength, you'll have to do it yourself. Or if you've got a juice that you want to increase in strength, you'll have to do it yourself. You won't be able to buy liquid over 20 milligrams in strength. So it's going to be the only way you're going to get that. So if you do regularly vape 36 or 24, then you'll have to mix it yourself. So if you've got any more questions on DIY mixing, on the TPD, or indeed any other vaping related questions, you know what to do. You can tweet us at VapeTrailsTV. You can tweet Matt, who is at Cybernoid. You can tweet me, and I'm at MarcoVanB_UK. You can get us on our Facebook group page, or on our main Facebook page, or indeed you can email us. Yeah. So let's get back to the studio.
And there we go, that was Marco doing some juice mixing. Now, apologies for the faux pas there. Was trying to adjust the audio so this gentleman doesn't echo, and yeah, I clicked something and things went. So, moving swiftly on, here's the next part of DD's New Zealand trip.
You're Australian, aren't you, Michael?
I am Australian, from Adelaide.
What's the story then?
So I was working in an office and slowly killing myself with booze and fags and so forth. The doctor told me I needed to change what I was doing or die. So I decided to come over here to New Zealand. I had some friends here and just packed up, left the office job, came over here. I was going to be mowing lawns, but what happened was I got here and everybody was confused about my vape and asking questions, and everything just went from there. I started sorting out my friends and stuff with importing stuff, and then it got bigger and bigger and it was becoming a pain in the neck, so I decided to start making some money from it.
Right.
So I set up a market stall down at the beach, the Sunday markets, and just did that for a few months. Had my little tasting set up and everything else, and just showed people what it was, and it just grew from there.
And that would all have been nicotine free at the time, was it?
Yeah, so everything was nicotine free, but I did explain to people that they could import the nicotine to put in them, because that's how it works in New Zealand. Yeah.
So, feel free to say no. Does the shop stock any nicotine for those that would want it in an under-the-counter way?
No, I don't do under-the-counter nicotine. I do explain to people what's going on.
Yeah.
Sorry for stepping out of frame,
right.
But I've got my little prop nicotine bottle here, and we have the doublers for people to mix the nicotine into.
Right.
And I walk them through that. I give them a card that tells them where to go on the net to find out about how to import it.
Right.
You know, and I'm happy to let people try the nicotine I have.
Right.
And you know, I'm a vapor like everybody else, and you know, I can be free with my personal supply.
Right.
But I don't sell any nicotine in the shop.
There you go. So one of the things I've noticed, we've travelled from Auckland up to Russell, down to Taupo, across here to Napier. We've stayed in I don't know how many different places now, it's about 6 or 7 different places, and I haven't seen a vapor in the wild. Okay. Nobody walking about vaping. Is that the state of affairs here?
Well, I'd hope that if you spend some time in Napier, you'll see a few. Okay, I like to think that, you know, I certainly see them around here. Obviously they come to my shop, but also you see them in the pubs and so forth here. I don't know because there's a brick and mortar shop here and there aren't in the other places.
Could well be the case, I don't know.
So we may have more vapors here than in some other parts of the country, but we're around.
Yes, well it's good to see. I mean, I'd love to see more of them out and about, because sometimes Jill and I have felt a little bit lonely.
Yeah.
Sat there with our little devices, blowing little clouds, and nobody joining us. It's really weird, isn't it, Jill?
Yeah.
We were in a restaurant last night, Pacifica,
Right.
where apparently they're vape friendly. One of the girls that was serving us was from Wales.
Yep.
But with a Kiwi accent that didn't really work all that well. And she said she didn't have a Kiwi accent, but she did, and she was quite happy that we would vape. And they've got some regular customers that vape around there.
Yep. So all the pubs here are reasonably vape friendly. Generally, what I advise people to do is two things: one, go up to the bar and ask when they get there. And two, don't be a dick about it. Don't blow big clouds in people's faces. If you're asked to go outside, go outside. And so far we've had a pretty good relationship, particularly with the pubs. They don't want people going outside to have a cigarette because they might leave and go to another pub.
Yeah, right. So they've actually seen the financial incentives of allowing people to vape indoors.
Yeah.
That's a good move. That's a good move. I'm sure Maria will be pleased to hear that, because she's very keen that people are seen to be vaping in New Zealand.
Yeah.
Again, in Auckland we saw very, very few. So how's business going then? I mean, how many customers a day do you get?
Business is growing slowly and steadily. I would say that, you know, when I started, I've had the shop for about a year and 2 weeks now. When I started, I'd get maybe 10, 12 people come in during the day. These days it's more like 50 or 60.
That's not too bad, either.
And, you know, maybe a quarter of those walk out with something. Lots of people. I've got a cigarette shop next door to me here, so I'm kind of in the faces of people going to buy their smokes.
Yeah.
And so I think but also I think there is just the beginning of like growth. So someone will start vaping and then they go to work with it and all their mates see it. And so quite often I'll get a wave of people from one area or one workplace. Because a group of friends are basically all switching over to vaping, and that's great to see.
It's those 4 questions, isn't it? Yeah. What is it? How does it work? Can I have a go and where can I get one?
Yeah, and the B&M, because, you know, in New Zealand, before I turned up and Dan down in Dunedin, there really wasn't anywhere you could go and have a try. You know, I personally spent hundreds of dollars on stuff when I first started, mostly incompatible stuff. You know, you'd get, you know, the mail would arrive and you'd get this bit and that looks good and that bit and that looks good and they don't screw together. All of that stuff, and you buy a whole bunch of flavours and they all taste horrible. And so having the opportunity for people to come in and give it a try, I think is a real good thing. I'd like to see more people do what I'm doing in New Zealand.
So, Donna,
Dave,
finally, we get to meet.
Yes.
E-cigs. You were a smoker, of course.
Yes.
How many a day?
Usually about a packet.
So what started you on e-cigs?
I'd got to a point in my life where I couldn't afford to smoke anymore. Not that I could, but I had to actually make the decision to swap over to e-cig because the difference in money terms for me was incredible. So one packet of cigarettes cost me $20 plus $20 gas to drive from where I live, rural, which would be $40 a packet of cigarettes. And I believe a bottle of juice was going to cost me around about $25 for the juice. And I was lucky enough for some lovely lady to give me a starter kit. So I had no choice but to swap. And I was very surprised how easy it was to make the switch, and I really never went back.
Okay. Now, nicotine containing e-liquid, of course, is illegal in New Zealand. How has that affected your vaping?
It hasn't affected me as such because I'm lucky enough to have connections in that field. I believe it would be harder for other people because if you're like myself and not on the internet, you come up to a general halt on being able to find out any more information on it.
So do you think it would be a lot easier if nicotine containing e-liquid was legal in New Zealand?
Yes, I do.
And you reckon you'd see more vapers wandering about the place? Because I've been struck by how few we've seen.
Yeah, I do. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I would see a big shift of people do exactly what I have done to be able to continue with their habit. And it is a very hard habit to give up. So I feel so lucky, and I feel so clean, and I feel so unpoisoned now.
Which is always good.
Yeah.
Of course, you know you're an internet sensation.
No, I don't.
Well, you are. Everybody on Twitter tunes into what Mario has been telling us about the progress that you've made with e-cigs.
Oh,
How
okay.
does that make you feel?
It's a little weird, really, because I just think I'm just a normal person that has just managed to shift, and I think it's getting a little bit,
It's getting too heavy.
the
now.
rain's getting a little bit too much.
That is really
Oh,
good.
yeah. Okay.
There you go, New Zealand weather. That's good, isn't it?
Yeah.
1 minute bright sunshine, the
Yeah.
next minute it's coming down like steroids.
Yeah, well, Split Ends wrote the song 4 Seasons in One Day,
Uh-huh.
so that depicts a lot of our Auckland weather. Yeah.
I was struck by the notion that while we were in Auckland city centre near the Sky Tower, we saw lots and lots of people smoking and very few people vaping. But you've come across this kind of underground culture whole thing.
Yeah.
Do tell.
So I was in a bar one night just because a mate wanted to take me there to have a drink to say goodbye because our mother passed away. And so I said yes, okay, and I took my vapor in there and I asked the bar staff if it would be okay if I had a vape, and they went, well, what is that? And can you show us what it is? What does it do? And I started smoking at the bar, which of course you are not allowed to smoke in New Zealand bars. You have to smoke in a designated area. So then she goes, yeah, that's fine, vape away. But the smokers got annoyed then because they were having to stand out in the freezing cold, because it would have been August back then, end of August, so it's pretty cold in New Zealand, and that's the peak of our winter. And the smokers became interested in what I was doing, but they were also annoyed at the same time. So there will be a bit of friction, whatever law they pass on what people do here, because it's what's good for the goose is good for the gander kind of thing.
Yes.
So I don't know.
Yeah, the smokers quite often go, I hate that you're doing that and I want one, where can I get one? Yeah.
Yeah, and I get approached by a lot of people, and I just find it kind of frustrating now for me because I can't help them. I can direct them on to someone that seems to be loaded up to the max, that's NZ Vaping. And that's about all I can do, because I can't provide enough info for them. I'm not on the internet myself. Half of the people that approach me tend to not be on the internet as well. There's a whole generation of oldies like myself that don't do the internet, you know, and are trying so hard not to, but...
So it needs a lot more bricks and mortar shops everywhere you look.
Well, probably not everywhere, but maybe one in every town would be good for a start. Or for the stop smoking programs to offer it, and maybe educate our doctors so that our doctors can shift us onto this product rather than Champix and Zyban, which do work for some people, but at the end of the day you've still got to do your hand and mouth motion, and that is the big...
And there we go, yet another sterling report from Mr. Dave Dawn in New Zealand. Now, due to the, I won't say the word I was going to say, issues this evening.
Faux pas. You mean faux pas?
Yeah, that it did begin with an F. We're not cutting to him straight full screen now because he echoes. Apparently.
No, I don't. No, I don't. No, I don't. No, I don't.
Don't you?
No, I don't.
Oh, all right then. Yeah. Okay. Let's crack on. I did some juice reviews, and afterwards, Sam's going to be giving us her opinions too. Cinema. Hello. So here we go, another juice review from yours truly. Now today I'll be reviewing the full range of the Decadent Vapors Art Blends, which consists of 6 liquids. You have Carnival, Earl's Indulgence, Harlequin, Mandrake, Sundial and Zephyr. Now before I start, I'd like to take a note on the packaging. So here, for example, is the bottle of Carnival. Okay, and here's the box it comes in, which is an attractive shape, and it's all color coordinated. It's completely unnecessary, but I like the attention to detail there. Now all these liquids come in a variety of strengths, ranging from 0 milligrams, 3 milligrams, 6 milligrams, 12 milligrams and 18, which is quite nice because you know, you get a lot of these boutique juices that only come in 0, 3 and 6. So I quite appreciate the fact that they cater for the higher milligram. Well, I say higher, I mean 18 isn't particularly high. I suppose it is in today's standards, I don't know, but anyway, there's a nice range there. Now as I said, there's 6 bottles of these, and they all come with childproof caps. They're dripper bottles in glass, frosted in various colours, or coloured glass, should we say, not frosted. Coloured glass as opposed to the liquids being a colour. So that's a nice little touch as well. Yes, so let's crack on. So the first liquid I'll be reviewing is, and you've probably seen me do this one before, I had a sneak peek of it, and this is Zephyr. Now Zephyr is described as a refreshing and revitalizing concoction of bittersweet lemon, lightly tangy botanicals and fizzy sherbet. Now I thought I'd start on one I really like, because I know I like this. Yeah, so and if you've seen my previous review, you've seen how much I like this. It is lemon sherbet sweeties. You know, you've all had those delightful yellow hardball sweets, haven't you? The sherbet in the middle. That's exactly what this is. Now, there might be botanicals involved, but I particularly can't taste them. I have no idea what the botanicals would be. Maybe some sort of lavender or something. I don't know. But I really like this juice. It's wonderful. It's exactly what I look for in a juice. I look for a nice tangy, sharp flavour. Yeah, so really nice. Lovely. Right, okay, on to the next one. So the next flavour then is Harlequin. Now Harlequin is described as an artfully smooth blend of sweet red berries, banana and a creamy vanilla with an unexpected twist of dark licorice. Okay, let's vape it and find out, shall we? Certainly get banana. That is the flavour that's at the forefront there. There is some sort of sweetness there. What the berries they're describing are, I don't know. It's there. Whatever it is, it's there. Aside from the banana, it's quite a subtle flavour. I'm not really getting much of a licorice, but I'm getting a sort of, should we say a tang? Which could well be the licorice. No, it's not without its charms. I don't think I could vape it all day, personally. If you like a banana vape, you probably would enjoy this. Okay, on to the next. So the next is Carnival. Now Carnival is described, you're going to hear this a lot tonight, as an uplifting summer infusion of sweet strawberry and fleshy orange with a cooling touch of cucumber. Sorry, a cooling touch of spearmint and fresh cucumber. If you haven't noticed, I'm reading it from the website, so well, you won't see, but yeah, there we go. Let's have a taste. It's got spearmint in it, and that's the first thing I taste. I'm not particularly fond of spearmint, I've got to be honest. So I'm quite sensitive to it because I don't particularly like it. I'm tasting the cucumber. That is most definitely there. Some strawberry. Yeah, I'm getting the strawberry. And not so much the orange. In fact, I'm getting none of the orange at all. Which is a shame, because I really like orange. But yeah, that's not really one for me. So next one coming up. Next on the list then is sundial. Let's put the label at the camera, Matt. Right. So sundial is described as a scrumptiously smooth blend of golden cereals with a dab of dried berries and a splash of sweetened milk. Okay. I'm getting a sort of a wafery taste. So yeah, what I first get out of that is a wafer, which I'm guessing is the cereals. Let me just mull this one over a little bit. Yes, this is an interesting flavour. Yeah, there's milk there. Kind of like evaporated milk, you know? Or condensed milk. I know, I never know which one's what. And yeah, I'm getting a slight fruit there. Mostly I'm getting wafer. It's not unpleasant, actually. In fact, it's quite pleasurable. Let's have another go at that. Yep, that's not bad. Not bad at all. I might entertain that one a bit more. Okay, so next. So, next on the list is Earl's Indulgence. There we go. Now, Earl's Indulgence, the description is thus. A delightfully soothing infusion of black tea and bergamot with delicate notes of blossom and citrus. Okay. Do you like Earl Grey tea? Because that's what this is. The bergamot is the particular flavour you'll get out of this. Oh, that's nice. That is very, very nice indeed. Very floral. You can taste the citrus in it. It's there. It's how do I describe that? It just lifts it. It's very, very nice indeed. Yeah, I really like that one. Very tasty. Very, very tasty indeed. Yeah. And so to the last juice of this evening. And what we have here is mandrake. So, mandrake. The description is a secret garden blend conjured from wormwood, star anise, and apple, with a pinch of the peculiar. Sounds tempting, doesn't it? Oh my word, that's wonderful. So what you're basically getting there is absinthe, or absinthe. I've never known how to say that properly. And you get the apple. This, oh my word. Yeah, so basically imagine absinthe and apple. some licorice in there as well. It's refreshing and very, very tangy. Oh. Oh, that's lovely. Lovely, lovely liquid. I really, really, really like that. So, yeah. That's a good one to end on. Okay then, so disclosure time. I was sent these free for review. No money is exchanged hands. They are sent to me for the purpose of evaluation. So yeah, thank you very much to Deccan and Vapor for letting me try these. Let's get onto the pricing of this stuff actually. For what you get 15 millilitres of liquid, and currently the price is £8.95 per bottle. That is an introductory price. The price whenever the introductory period ends is going to be £10.95 per bottle. It's not the cheapest liquid out there, but it is well made liquid. There's a few flavours in there that I particularly, the Zephyr and the what's it called again, the Mandrake, really, really enjoyed those. The others are as they are described, pretty much, as far as liquids can be. You know, it's all taste is subjective and all that business. So I would urge you to try the Zephyr and Wormwood. I really would. So on that note, I'm going back to my my Mandrake, not Wormwood, Mandrake, and back to the studio. Ta-ta. There we go. So that was my little look at some DV juices, which were kindly sent to me for review. I don't think I mentioned in the video that particular take. I did a few of them. The ratio was 60 VG, 40 PG. Anyway, Sav, you've been having a little vape on them.
I have, and I've randomly pulled 2 bottles out of the bag to have a quick look at. I think this one is Carnival, so we'll have a try Carnival.
Have a try of Carnival. I'll get out of your way. There you go. Oh no, maybe not, because everyone can see the stuff behind me.
Fruity. That's definitely fruity. Strawberries, I would say. Strawberries. Nice strawberry. That's a fresh, not like a strawberry jam, but like a fresh strawberry.
A sweet strawberry, it says here. Reading the box.
It's quite sweet. It reminds me a little bit of, do you remember strawberry chewits?
Oh yeah.
It's got that taste to it, so there's obviously another something that's doing that.
They were chewier than Barrow in Furness Bus Depot, you know.
I couldn't comment.
Could you not? Huh.
I get the cucumber.
Yeah, I got that.
Sort of an aftertaste. You get the strawberry first, and then the cucumber comes through an aftertaste, but I don't get the spearmint.
You see, I got an overwhelming sense of spearmint, probably because I really don't like spearmint.
Yeah, I quite like spearmint.
Mm.
I can smell the spearmint more than I can taste it.
Do you get any orange out of it?
No.
No, nor did I.
No.
So okay. Yeah.
Strawberry definitely, cucumber definite. I could vape that though. I could definitely that suits my palate. So I quite like a sweet vape, so that suits my palate quite nicely. I'll move on to number 2, which is it's dark in here. I'll just put the light on. Sundial.
Sundial. Here is the box with Sundial.
Sundial. Let's see. I'm using these in GSAs that I found kicking around the house, by the way. That's a heavier flavour straight away.
Yeah.
Much heavier. I want to say biscuit, but it's not quite biscuit. It's milky.
I got waffly, wafery sort of taste.
Waffle, that's exactly it. It's waffly.
Okay.
It's waffly, a bit like me.
Waffly versatile.
Yes.
Oh, we're just going through the old adverts tonight, aren't we?
Definitely waffly, but not maple syrup waffly.
No, just as well
'Cause
as I don't like maple
I
syrup.
hate that.
No, I don't like it.
No. That one, yeah. Waffles. Hang on, I'll try again. I get the milk sort of on the top of my mouth as I'm exhaling it. I get a milky taste coming from it. It's not. I'm not a big fan of milky vapes. The idea makes me cringe slightly. But it's not an overpowering milk, so I could vape that.
Yeah, I got a sort of sweet creaminess out of it, I would say.
Yeah, it's a sweetened milk.
Yeah.
It's a good quality sweetened milk. It's not like a semi-skimmed. It's like a full fat.
How did I describe it in the review? I think I described it along the lines of sort of condensed milk.
Yeah, something like that. It's not quite as sweet as condensed milk, but a good creamy milk with a little bit of sugar added to it. You definitely get the sweetness from it, but the waffly, which I'm guessing is a cereal-y type thing, is stronger, much stronger than the milk. And I think it possibly may get drowned out on higher wattage, possibly.
Yeah, I mean, I had mine, well, in today's terms, at a fairly sedate 40 or 50 watts. So.
Well, mine is right down at 10 watts on this
blimey.
GSM.
To be fair, for 10 watts, it's producing quite well.
It's not doing too bad, this little thing, considering it's straight out the box.
Oh, there we go then. Not even broken in coils. Yeah, that's alright. That's respectable.
Yeah, I would say it's a breakfasty cereal, waffly, milky, sugary vape.
There we go.
See?
Lovely job, Sav. So, what we got now then, as he's looking at your schedule, we've got DD having a little chat with Joe Gitchell and Graham Gords. Entwistle 10001001. Yeah, okay. Let's crack on.
People on what you might call the other side from where we are that are undoubtedly very clever people. And they've got to be capable of following the logic and doing everything like that. They must be able to. What it needs, I think, is an opportunity to sit down and, as we did in New Zealand when I went across there, actually talk, answer the questions in both directions. You know, I was asking questions of them, they were asking questions of us, and I'm looking at what's going on in New Zealand now, and it's a fabulous state of affairs in comparison to what it used to be. It's working really well. And I just don't understand why they won't just sit down round a table. You know, let's set up 4 or 5 days somewhere where there's no distractions, no Twitter, no Google Hangouts, no broadcasts, no nothing. And just sit and bang it all out and find out what it is that needs to be properly studied, what it is that needs properly to be done. But I don't hold out much optimism that those who would oppose e-cigs, the denialists as I call it, I don't have a great deal of optimism that they would sit down and do that. More to the point, I don't know who could broker that, because there doesn't seem to be anybody that's actually sat on the fence per se. I don't know of anybody that's definitely sat on the fence. There seems to be very much a them and us, and I don't know how to make it a we, and a we is what we need. Wrong choice of words, but you know what I mean.
If I could drop in, I think that's actually starting to happen. Certainly on this side of the pond it is. We've got the likes of Jim McManus, Lisa McNally, and quite a few others. Admittedly, not only in England, there's people I can think of from other countries, and I do lump you in with that as well, Joe, who are happy to talk to us and try and see both sides of the fence. And I think we sort of, people from mine and Dave's side of the table, we need to make more of an effort, maybe to not lash out as much as we're inclined to. It's a difficult one to cross, and I do wish that Greg could have dropped in on this as well, because I know that he's bore the brunt of people, shall we say, high collar, on more than one occasion. And to his credit, he is prepared to talk it out when he really doesn't need to, because some of the stuff that he gets is pure trolling. I'll hold my hands up to occasional, you know, getting annoyed and just saying exactly what you think. Which, it's difficult, I feel.
Well, I would, so there's a lot of threads in there. First, to agree with Dave, your point about really the only way stuff like this gets improved is for people to sit down, even in the a stew of mistrust and distrust and fear. But neither side is going to achieve unconditional, what is it, an unconditional surrender by the other side. So the only way this gets to a much more public welfare optimizing reality is by people who disagree to work to start to bridge those gaps. And the only way I believe that happens is, as you said, more we and less us and them.
Thing is, just to jump in, and I'm sorry to interrupt, but I want to make this point. There have been times in my life, and I'm sure in many people's lives, where they've been at loggerheads with somebody. And sometimes you've just got to have the fight with nobody else watching. You've just got to put all of the people, them, us, we, in one room, have the fight, say what's on your mind, get it off your chest, get it out in the open, and then say, right, now we've got to find the points upon which we agree. There may be few, they may be far between, but we've got to find those points and then work from there to find the consensus position that allows us to move forward and work hand in hand together to find out the truth. Look, I use these things a lot, an awful lot. And if there is something in what I use that's going to do me damage, I really would kind of like to know. It's not, it's not like I'm, saying these are the best things since sliced bread, they're absolutely harmless, there's nothing wrong, two fingers to the rest of you. I want to know, because I want to be in a position where, in a Twitter exchange I was having the other day about airports, somebody was saying they trigger asthma. My immediate reaction is, no, they don't. They actually make asthma better. But I kind of want all of this information there. What I find difficult to handle is the mistruths, the propagandization of people who appear to just have an irrational hatred of them. And we need to get everybody together. And we need somebody to broker it. And I don't know who that person is going to be. But Graham's right. You were right. It needs that pulling together. And if we don't get that, we're not going to get anywhere. I was told a while ago that the battle is a 10-year battle. And even when the war is won, there'll still be skirmishes. There'll be a Cold War going on. And that's an untenable position for everybody. When you look at how long it's taken to have marijuana accepted, and we know what the death rates are. I mean, the statistics are all there. Nobody's died of marijuana, no matter how they've used it. They might have died from the products of combustion, but not the marijuana per se. And only now is that becoming legitimised again. It was perfectly free to use, the same as opium was, and cocaine and various other things. I think we need to have this big conversation, and it needs not to be an audience participation one. It's not a big conference. It's not something with 500 people in attendance. It needs the big players, representatives from both sides, to sit down, have the fight, get it all out in the open, and then decide where it needs to go. Who's going to broker that? I don't know. I just don't know. But when you get people like Simon Chapman saying, I've got no interest in speaking to you, whatever, Mr. Dawn, then where do you go from there? Because I would quite happily sit down with Simon Chapman in 4 walls, no cameras, and just have it out. Same with Glance, same with Malone, same with McKee, same with all of them. It would be nicer if there was all of them and all of us, and then we could get the fight over and done with and get this bloody thing settled. Because I'm not getting any younger, and I would kind of like to enjoy my retirement without having to constantly fight. Sorry.
No, well, because you're a lover, not a fighter.
Well, shit, that's debatable. I might be a lover, but not necessarily a good one. It's an age thing, Joe.
If I could drop in on this, I tend to agree with Joe. I think Joe made an excellent point there. We need to get past the stage of them and us. And it needs to be us.
Yes, it needs to be we.
Non-smokers and ex-smokers. It needs to be us, the human race.
Yes.
Where everyone accepts everyone else's viewpoint. You might not agree with it, but you at least accept it, and we find a way to live past it.
Yes.
It has literally become exactly the same as the religious debate. It really has. And it's tragic that in the 21st century, we're still having these confrontations all the time. It doesn't need to be like that. We only have 70, 80, 90, 100 years. Why can't we all just enjoy that time?
No, I don't have much to add substantively beyond agreement. I would say, from a pessimistic note, that I think the public discourse on almost any issue one can imagine, particularly in the country that I know the best, is tragic in terms of the deterioration into us and them and caricature and me good, you bad sort of stuff. So it is going to take real leadership and some risk taking for people who are going to see themselves as opponents to actually sit down. But to quote President Obama when he was challenged about making the deal with Iran, his rejoinder was, "You don't make peace with your friends." And while that seems profound, is kind of scary, but people need to remember that.
I want to make a proposal here and ask a question and see whether it's possible to go further with this, because I kind of like the way the conversation's gone. Joe, David Abrams, well thought of on, I'm going to call it the them side of things. He's got a lot of credo and so on and so forth. Would it be possible, do you think, for David Abrams and the Truth Foundation to be able to broker the kind of conversation that we're talking about?
I think it's a really good idea because they do have the combination of both the Truth Initiative, David personally, the other individuals that work there. They do have the standing and the capacity to do that, and it's going to turn on, if it were to happen, on a willingness to take some risks and to challenge some of the kind of received wisdom that shaped so much of the debate. And that's why I can't say enough good things about that Galileo's Middle Finger book, because it's basically about the conflict between science and dogma and how hard that is to resolve. And the stories and events that she describes in there make the battles that we face in this field look like a kindergarten spat.
Do you think
I think you will find it fascinating.
Right. Is it possible then, do you think, to move this forward and actually propose this to Truth Initiative and to David and see whether or not the funding can be found to get, say, 20 people with a referee and put them in a room somewhere in the world, wherever it happens to be, and say, right, we're going to do this over 3 or 4 days. Let's chew the fat, let's have the fight, let's get it all out in the open, let's find out where everybody's at, and let's exercise some leadership here. There are plenty of people that would be, I'm sure, very happy to get involved in it, and if it's done out of the public gaze, surely to goodness, that would have the effect that we're looking at, and give that platform for further development of the whole arena and actually get somewhere rather than constantly bloody sniping and fighting, because where we are at the moment is doing nobody any good. Can you do this, Joe?
Do you want to, if that can be transcribed, that sounds like the letter to Robin Cavall to propose it. Be happy to help you write it. I think it's exactly the kind of thing that we're going to need to make actual meaningful progress.
Great. Well, look, this is all being recorded, so we should be able to pull it together, and we'll see where it goes from there. If everybody's happy for it to be used, then I'm quite happy to broadcast edited highlights and so on and so forth on VTTV. Let's see if it gets traction, and let's continue the conversation as we've got it and see whether we can actually do something with this, because I think if we could get this World Congress, if you like, on e-cigs at very small numbers, behind closed doors, out of the public gaze, and just get the bloody thing sorted and settled. Otherwise, we're going to be dragging on and nobody's going to be happy.
Amen.
All good with that?
I am.
Right. Luke will want his Lego men back now, does he?
He's got a sleeping bag on the sofa now. He's going to have 40 links.
Yeah, I'm not far away from that myself.
So no, it's been good to talk. It really has. Hopefully we can do this again with a few more people. Maybe that might be the start that we need.
You might be right. You might be right.
Start small, work a little bit bigger.
If we can get these into conversations and see whether we can't get people from all sides and all feelings involved, then yeah, why not?
Can I make one more book recommendation?
Yep.
Yes. It'll not be in the final video.
And I trust me, I'm not trying to sound like David Sweener and bragging about how I read 3 books last night in between doing 800 sit-ups and 500 pull-ups, but from a historical standpoint, because my only formal training is in history, I really think that reading the book by Michael Perchuk called Smoke in Their Eyes, I don't know if I've made this recommendation in various fora, but it is the history of the Master Settlement Agreement in 1996 through 1998 in the U.S. And while there aren't total direct parallels, I think there are sufficient similarities that it really is worth mining for lessons. And frankly, one concern I have is so many of my colleagues in the public health tobacco control community, I fear that they have not fully remembered the lessons from that experience, and we risk making the same mistakes again with enormous consequences. So I just think it's really good. And if you want, as a teaser, if you Dave, I have your email. Graham, if you could send me your email address, but I'll send you an excerpt, because unfortunately this book, it's not available as an ebook yet. or who knows if it ever will, but just the chapter titled 13 Ways to Lead a Movement Backwards. And it's kind of a parody of how to not achieve your real objectives. And I don't think we're doing all 13, but it might be 9.
Yeah, I think you're probably right.
Yeah,
Yes.
So I'll say
no address drafts. That'd be good.
okay, thank you. Okay, gentlemen, thank you. This was great. Now I have to pretend to work.
No,
This has been fun.
good to speak to you, Joe. It's been very enjoyable.
Indeed,
Great.
thank you.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
And welcome back. We've got a Mr. Dawn here. Hello, Mr. Dawn.
Hello. Yes, I'm a full screen. I've got no idea.
No, because you're like echoing, see?
Ah, right.
So you're just behind me there.
I see. Yes, that was one of the more interesting conversations I've had. Joe Gitchell is an interesting bloke, and I think he can get things done, and I kind of hope he will, actually. And I think Graham will agree with me. I mean, the three of us have had this natter, and we're going to try and bring other people into conversations like this, because thinking about it, there's been too much bloody fighting. I think we need a big fight, get it all out the way, and let's get the conversation started before it's completely taken away from vapers. At the moment, as you were mentioning earlier on in the news, it's starting to talk about cessation. Sod that. Let's get talking about harm reduction, people enjoying life, choice, and taking things forward. My gut feel is that Joe's going to be able to find the right people to be able to broker the conversations that we need, and I quite look forward to going there. So yeah, there you go. That's what that was all about.
Lovely. Okay. So moving swiftly on then to sort of similar sort of news with Ridian and what's been happening in Wales. Here we go.
Previously on Vapor Trails TV, we have covered the progress of the Public Health Wales Bill due to a particular section which proposed to prohibit the use of vaping products by the Health Minister Mark Drakeford. This prohibition applies to the enclosed public places, workplaces and various others. Before VTTV took a break, we covered the Stage 1 scrutiny process on various shows. This coverage included the oral evidence sessions and scrutiny of multiple public health experts, including Professors Linda Bold, John Britton and Peter Hayek. Once Stage 1 scrutiny was completed by the Health and Social Care Committee, they published a report in late November 2015. With regards to other aspects of the bill, most of that was welcomed by members of the HSEC. But regarding vaping products, the HSEC did not reach a consensus. The HSEC was split like this. Welsh Labour in full support of the proposals, as they are still concerned about the gateway effect, renormalisation of smoking, and still concerned that vaping products will make the enforcement of current smoke-free laws difficult, and they're still uncertain about the long-term health impacts of them. In complete contrast, the other political parties represented on the Health and Social Care Committee took a view that there was insufficient evidence base to support the proposed legislation in regards to the concerns continually cited by Welsh Labour. This could give you the inference that the bill could no longer progress further. Sadly, Stage 1 scrutiny is all about the general principles of the bill, and the underpinning principle is to improve public health in Wales. So even if one single part of the bill is not agreed on by the members of the HSCC, but the rest is, we've covered something similar with EU legislation, the bill will progress to the next stage. This is what Liam Bryan of Vapers in Power had to say in response to the Health and Social Care Committee's Stage 1 report.
The failure to reach consensus by the HSCC particularly highlights which parties in the Welsh Assembly listened to vapers and the evidence of scientific experts, and which acted on predetermined policy outcomes.
The time gap between the publishing of the Stage 1 report and the debate and vote in front of the whole Assembly was just 2 weeks. In order to finalise the completion of Stage 1, a vote on the general principles of the bill took place on December the 8th, 2015. These are the results of the vote. As you can see, the vote is very close indeed, but there are 60 members of the Welsh Assembly government. So some members were not present, ill, or attending approved engagements. However, to compensate for this, a system of pairing takes place to ensure a balanced vote. This means that 2 AMs are put together in a pair, and if they vote the same, that vote is counted as a single vote rather than 2 separate ones. This is a very complex system in my opinion. As soon as this vote was completed, the bill progressed into Stage 2 of the overall process. Stage 2 is where amendments can be proposed, discussed and voted on. This stage is where particular lines or even whole subsections can be removed or changed to improve the overall strength of the bill in meeting its general principles, which is, as I said before, to improve the public health in Wales. Now, on December the 9th, literally the day after the vote was held, Kirsty Williams proposed multiple amendments to the bill and supported by Darren Millar, Kirsty Williams being Welsh Lib Democrats and Darren Millar being Welsh Conservatives, both shadow health ministers. And these changes were to specific sections on the use of vaping products. Here are some of those amendments. Now, as you can see, they've proposed the removal of the term and use of nicotine inhaling products. Nicotine inhaling products covers vaping products in this case. The removal of this phrase was cited 3 times to cover different sections of the bill. Essentially, Kirsty and Darren support vapers and their choice to use vaping products wherever they like. Unfortunately, on the day of the vote, some media coverage, including this article headline, was seen on the internet. This suggests that the health minister carried out a U-turn on the vaping ban he originally proposed. However, this is not exactly the case. Later the same day, 2 tweets from the health minister's account suggested something different entirely. These tweets do not mean that there is a back down whatsoever. You have to notice the political nuance of including but not limited to. This phrase essentially gives the minister and the Welsh Government the power to extend the restriction on vaping wherever it deems fit beyond the 3 locations listed at a later date. Let's move to 2016, January. Now, UKIP held their party conference just down the road from me in the Liberty Stadium. During UKIP's visit to Wales, Nigel Farage was asked what his thoughts were about the Public Health Wales Bill proposals on vaping. This article was published by a North Wales-based paper and it sums up his thoughts. I'm personally inclined to agree, and I'm sure you will too. Recently, the announcement of Stage 2 proceedings of the Public Health Wales Bill have been released. Now, this stage will be conducted by the Health and Social Care Committee on January the 28th and February the 3rd, 2016. This does not exactly leave much time for advocates to change the minds of the Assembly members before the Stage 2 vote. There are many ways you can change their minds. One of them is by writing letters to the 5 Assembly members that represent you. One being your constituency AM, which was voted in the last Welsh Government election, and the 4 regional AMs that represent you as well. Here is Vapers Empower's letter writing campaign as given by Liam Bryan.
To aid in this, we have created a new web resource. www.right2vape.co.uk/Wales.
There are other campaigns available, such as the Save e-cigs tweeting campaign called Vaping Selfie, and that uses the hashtag #StopTheBan. Also, the New Nicotine Alliance urge all vapers in Wales to write to their AMs just the same as Vapers in Power. This has been an update on the Welsh vaping politics. All links to relevant documents will be put in the description below the video. Please keep an eye out on further updates like this during Stage 2, Stage 3 and Stage 4 of the Public Health Wales Bill legal process.
And there we go, that was young Ridian there giving us what's going on in Wales. So it's that time of night now, I'm afraid, where we've actually got to wrap up. So before we go, Dave, what's coming up on Thursday?
On Thursday, VTTV Thursday is coming up on Thursday. It's going to be another packed show. It was packed enough last Friday, which was Thursday really.
Yes.
Only it wasn't because it didn't. Anyway, yes, all kinds of stuff. We're going to be having a look at, where is it? I'll show you it because I'm afraid I didn't do it. I should have done, but I haven't. So we're going to be having a look at that. This is for the mouth to lung people. It's going to be kind of a mouth to lung session, special session for mouth to lung. So we're going to be having a look at that, which is the Vivid Capsule Starter Kit, which may well tell us what's coming up with the TPD. We're going to be having a look at the TPD and what it means about the products that you can and cannot buy and when you can and cannot buy them. We're going to be talking about various different devices. I've been having a look at the Ego 1 CT, which is a temperature controlled mod for beginners, and there'll be much more. It's going to be fabulous, and I can't wait to see you on Thursday.
So they got a tune in or be a
oblate spheroid.
Oblate spheroid. Right. Okay then. So all that remains is for us to say good night and thanks for watching. I'll put you on. Sav, are you going to say good night?
Sorry, night.
So until Thursday then. Ta-ta. He says pressing the button. There we are. Bye-bye.